And the question is why? Because this is an anti-tail, where a tail is often what you see around comets, where the dust and gas are getting pushed away from the sun. In this case, we seem to see the glow towards the sun.
The shock hit the control room instantly. The latest NASA ESA image set of 3I Atlas appeared on screen, and every scientist watching felt their breath catch. The object wasn't just brighter than expected, it was closer, far closer, as if it had drifted forward faster than any model allowed. No one could explain how every simulation missed this approach by such a huge margin. Then came the detail that truly unsettled them. Along the comet's leading edge, analysts detected a faint, rhythmic glow pulsing at precise intervals. Natural comets do not pulse. They flare, they sputter, they fragment. But they do not blink like a signal hidden in deep space. Someone whispered, "Is it active?" No one answered. Moments later, the velocity data updated. The object's speed was fluctuating. Microscopic changes far too subtle for any natural outgassing to produce. These tiny accelerations lined up perfectly with earlier unexplained telemetry spikes from weeks before. Suddenly, a horrifying possibility surfaced. Something inside the object might be responding to sunlight. A quiet argument erupted behind closed doors. Some researchers insisted it had to be experimental physics, unmapped ice vents, unknown materials, thermal shock. But others stared at the pulsing glow and saw intention, pattern, response, not randomness, not chaos, behavior. Publicly, NASA repeated the safe line, "It's just a comet." But inside the agency, the tone had changed. Scientists who once joked about alien theories now spoke in clipped sentences and avoided reporters entirely. ESA's imaging division immediately ordered another round of deep field exposures, an action that told everyone they saw something deeply wrong. And the worst part? The silhouette. Each new high-resolution frame showed edges that were too clean, too sharp, almost engineered. Comets crumble. Comets shed dust. Comets are messy. But 3I Atlas, this thing, looked as if it was built to hold its shape no matter what space threw at it. The more they looked, the more it resembled a structure, not a rock. Now December is approaching fast. The flyby window is closing in. And inside NASA and ESA, one silent fear grows louder with every new image. They may not have enough time left to understand what's coming toward Earth and what the next data set will reveal. From the moment the latest trajectory models loaded on NASA's screens, the mood shifted. 3I Atlas wasn't just drifting toward Earth. It was adjusting its approach. Calculations now showed the object passing uncomfortably close this very month, yet its path refused to behave like any stable comet ever recorded. Small deviations began appearing in the newest dataset, soft bends and angular flicks, movements so subtle they should have been impossible at this stage of flight, but they were there, repeating, spreading, multiplying. NASA analysts stared at the numbers in disbelief. These micro bends matched the same eerie irregularity seen years ago in one I/Oumuamua, an interstellar visitor that broke rules no one could explain. Now, 3I Atlas was echoing that same signature, but with sharper precision and far less time to study it. Instruments even detected momentary bursts of acceleration without any visible outgassing. Nothing natural accelerates in silence, yet the readings were undeniable. Internal alerts triggered across mission consoles. What terrified scientists most wasn't the distance, it was the uncertainty. Every new measurement should have narrowed the margin of error. Instead, it widened it, tightening unpredictably around a moving target. One mission planner finally whispered what others were afraid to say aloud: "We cannot guarantee the same path by week's end." The fear wasn't a direct impact. The fear was that 3I Atlas might shift again, subtly, then dramatically, as if reacting to something unseen. A small curve today could become a major deviation tomorrow. A tiny acceleration could evolve into a trajectory break no model could forecast. The December approach was no longer a routine flyby. It had become a test. A high-stakes, real-time confrontation with an object that might not follow physics at all. And as tension spiked in control rooms across the world, one question grew heavier by the hour. If 3I Atlas changes behavior again, what will the next data set reveal? From the moment the latest spectral readings came in, the room fell silent. Analysts leaned closer to their screens as the numbers stabilized, then destabilized again, revealing reflectivity patterns no one had ever documented on a natural comet. The data showed a surface that didn't scatter light like porous ice or dust. Instead, it bounced photons with the cold precision of polished mineral or manufactured alloy. Even the veteran researchers couldn't hide their alarm. Something about 3I Atlas was reflecting light too well, almost deliberately, as if it wanted to be seen. When they recalculated their models, nothing fit. The gas signatures were barely there, weak, inconsistent, almost hesitant bursts instead of the wild outgassing expected from an interstellar comet entering sunlight. It behaved like a machine pretending to be a comet, leaking just enough material to pass off as natural, but never enough to fully commit to the disguise. Within hours, the rumors everyone tried to bury came roaring back. What if 3I Atlas isn't fully natural? NASA tried to shut it down with a polished statement, insisting the object was behaving within acceptable cometary parameters. But behind closed doors, no one believed that. The composition puzzle wasn't just unsolved, it was becoming more unsettling with every frame. Then ESA researchers leaked something that shifted the entire conversation. The object's albedo, its brightness, was fluctuating in perfectly repeating intervals like a timed heartbeat. No natural body in recorded history had ever done this. The pattern looked intentional, engineered, controlled. And then came the most disturbing image yet. In one high-resolution exposure, analysts noticed a thin, perfectly smooth halo circling the object, too uniform, too symmetrical, too stable to be dust. It looked like a boundary layer, a sheath, a design feature. Scientists on the review team whispered the same sentence again and again. "We have never seen a behavioral match like this." Every new observation contradicted the last, as though the comet was shifting states or reconfiguring itself under solar pressure. Reflectivity changing, gas output stuttering, surface texture evolving. No two data sets matched, no 2 hours looked the same. With each contradiction, the theory everyone is terrified to say aloud creeps back into the room, stronger, louder, harder to dismiss. And as the readings grow stranger by the day, an even more unsettling question emerges, one that the next part will expose. If the object's composition keeps changing, what is it changing into? The shock hit the control rooms first. The new trajectory plots didn't match anything the teams had calculated just 48 hours earlier. 3I Atlas was supposed to glide along a clean, predictable interstellar arc, the kind every simulation agreed on. But the newest NASA ESA imaging shattered that confidence instantly. The object had shifted again. Not wildly, not randomly, but with a tiny angular change that looked disturbingly deliberate. Veteran orbital analysts stared at the data in silence. These weren't deviations caused by dust jets or thermal pressure. The pattern was too smooth, too timed. It was as if 3I Atlas was adjusting itself in response to something: solar wind, internal temperature rise, or a force no one could identify yet. One researcher whispered what everyone else refused to say: "It looks like it's steering." Within hours, an internal memo circulated across NASA's inboxes. Its wording was cold and terrifying. Trajectory logic inconsistent with known comets. The message hit like a warning siren. People who remembered the Oumuamua incident immediately drew comparisons, especially the unexplained acceleration that still haunts scientific literature. Now, analysts were placing 3I Atlas datasets side by side with those from 2017, and the parallels were impossible to ignore. Slopes, bends, micro shifts, it was as if the same invisible hand was acting again. NASA publicly denied everything, insisting the object was natural. But behind those statements, the math was falling apart. Trajectory models that should have converged were splitting into chaotic branches. The more teams recalculated, the more the curves resembled navigation, not drift. A natural comet doesn't choose direction. This one seemed to. And the biggest fear grew quietly in the background. If this pattern shifting continues into mid-December, the flyby won't be a passive event at all. It could become a controlled maneuver, something intentional, something directed. No one can predict what the next shift will expose. And Part 5 begins exactly where this mystery turns even darker. The tension snapped the moment the latest scans hit NASA's internal servers. Scientists stared at the data in stunned silence because nothing in the files looked like the harmless comet the world had been promised. The brightness pulses had grown sharper, almost rhythmic, as if the object were responding to something. The composition readings shifted again, refusing to match any known model, and the trajectory inconsistencies were now happening too often to ignore. Behind closed doors, even veteran analysts admitted they were running out of explanations. Inside the agencies, the divide widened fast. Some believed the public needed to hear the truth before the December window opened. Others feared announcing these anomalies would trigger panic the moment the object entered visible range. ESA analysts quietly pushed for transparency, hinting that they had found a repeating pattern, something buried deep in the imaging sequence that looked disturbingly deliberate. NASA countered that nothing should be said until more confirmation arrived, delaying every update with carefully scripted caution. But the hesitation only made the world more suspicious. Rumors erupted online, fueled by a leaked comment from inside the agency. If these readings are correct, this is unlike any comet we have ever observed. No one could trace who said it. No one could deny it either. The silence from certain departments suddenly felt louder than any official statement. Meanwhile, new data kept pouring in, hour by hour, yet almost none of it reached the public unfiltered. Analysts worked through the night, trying to make sense of readings that refused to stay consistent for more than a few minutes. Every new frame added pressure. Every unexplained pulse made the object feel less predictable. Every conflicting measurement pushed scientists closer to admitting what they feared. The world watched the sky, unaware of how many alarms were now flashing behind the scenes. And as the final days before December slipped away, one question grew heavier on every researcher's mind. What happens when the next dataset drops? And the answer may lead directly into the next, even darker revelation. The moment 3I Atlas entered its visible approach window, the mood inside every NASA and ESA operations room shifted from curiosity to raw electric fear. The object wasn't stabilizing the way normal comets do. Instead, its behavior grew more erratic with every passing hour. Analysts watched in stunned silence as the newest images came in. The object's edges looked sharper, almost engineered, as if something had carved clean lines into a body that should be nothing more than melting ice and dust. Its symmetry, far too neat, far too deliberate, sent a chill through everyone in the room. The strange halo seen in earlier frames still hovered around it, but now the halo brightened and dimmed in patterns that seemed to respond to sunlight like a living sensor adjusting its output. No one could explain it. No model could recreate it. And yet there it was, pulsing faintly, as if the object were aware of its environment. Scientists tried to reassure themselves, but the December flyby loomed like a ticking clock. They knew that when 3I Atlas sweeps past Earth, the world might see something that rewrites all assumptions in a single moment. A single irregular flash. A sudden change in brightness. Even the hint of an internal pulse could shatter years of scientific certainty. And then came the warning that shook the internal channels. If its path bends even a fraction of a degree, everything changes. Because the truth was brutal. A natural comet doesn't bend. A natural comet doesn't pulse. A natural comet doesn't sharpen its silhouette as it approaches the sun. If 3I Atlas shifts again, just once, the theory everyone has been terrified to speak aloud will explode across the globe. Privately, mission leads admitted what they refused to say publicly. The real test begins when it passes Earth. Not before, not during, after. Because nobody knows what it will do once it's on the other side of the planet, whether it keeps going, slows down, turns, or reveals something entirely new. Now the world waits, breath held tight, watching the sky as the object closes in. Every new image could be the one that breaks the story open. Every tiny fluctuation could be the start of something humanity has never witnessed. And as the countdown reaches its final days, one question grows louder than all the others. What happens if 3I Atlas doesn't act like a comet when it finally arrives?